it's time to stand alone. But don't worry, you don't have to stand alone because you've got me to help preview our next big Korakuen Hall show. Today we're also going to review Next Door in Osaka and a few matches from ChocoPro. We'll also discuss a big-time matchup made for Summer Sun Princess and rock out to some new tunes from TJPW. All that and more coming up on the Tokyo Joshi Pod. Stay tuned. Hello to all you big children out there. Konnichiwa and welcome to the Tokyo Joshi Pod, your weekly dose of everything TJPW. I'm your host Andy Zyke, and I want to thank you all for joining me today and hitting that download button or that streaming play button. Summer is very fast approaching. I can't believe it's already June. That is insane to me. It's already starting to get quite hot out in my neck of the woods. Today was like pushing 90 degrees, which I will admit is like a little unseasonable for Southern California. But regardless, you all are probably very jealous of me by having a 90 degree day. I hope you guys are listening to today's episode. Maybe you're outside. Maybe you guys have some warmer weather as well. Or if you're inside, maybe use this as your excuse to go outside and go for a walk. Bring me with you, of course. Have a listen to the Tokyo Joshi Pod on your stroll, but make sure that you are enjoying some of this warmer air as we finally start to say goodbye to winter. I'm saying we, but I just mean you guys. My winters are significantly more mild than what the vast majority of my listeners have to endure. So by no means am I trying to lump myself in with the overall collective here. We've got some fun things to dive into on the show today, but before we do, I want to start with just a couple of like minor housekeeping items. If you missed it on last week's show, I announced a couple of upcoming monthly bonus episodes. This month in June, we're going to do a watch along of the Grand Princess 2/6 behind the scenes documentary, which is posted for free on the TJPW YouTube channel. And then we're going to do a TJPW Rewind. And within that series, that Rewind series, we're going to look at the very first Hype show from Hyper Misao. I'm still working on the specific dates for both of those bonus episodes on when they're going to drop, but keep a lookout on your podcast feeds in the coming weeks because I have to schedule like when I'm going to record them and all, but we'll be dropping both of those in the month of June. And I typically do the bonus episodes like earlier in the week since the mainline episodes are Friday. So usually like Monday, Tuesday, somewhere in there. So just keep your eyes peeled. Also, I want to say I joined the bandwagon and I got my hands on one of those BBM trading card boxes. It's actually like set to be delivered like as I record this on Thursday evening. So I'm waiting for that. I'm very, very excited to get that. I'm not like a huge collector person. When I was a kid, I did used to have like a whole bunch of like sports cards and all that stuff, but like I don't think I'm going to go like too far down the rabbit hole here hunting for specific cards, but I did want to mention it because I am thinking of doing some sort of like unboxing or pack opening video on social media. I'm not sure if that's something you all would be interested in, but maybe just highlighting the TJPW cards that I managed to get in the box. So keep a lookout for that. I'll have a think on just what it's going to look like, but keep your eyes peeled on social media. I've been pretty giddy since I bought it. And I'm just really excited to see. I've seen so many people get these really cool cards, and I think it's just going to be so much fun to have some trading cards from some of my favorite wrestlers and hopefully, many of the TJPW women as well. On to today's show. Today we have Next Door in Osaka to review. Another really solid house show from TJPW. We also have our next Korakuen Hall event to discuss, Standalone 2/6, coming up this weekend already, which is crazy. The card, I think, for Standalone is shaping up to be pretty good as well. So I'm excited to get into all of that. In addition to those two shows, we're going to talk a little bit of ChocoPro. There was a ChocoPro show that I want to check in on. We have some announcements for Summer Sun Princess already. Some pretty big, tasty announcements that we're going to talk about. And then we got a couple of other bits and bobs. So let's go ahead. Let's get this party rolling. Let's jump on in. What's the best way to get a party rolling? I think that's with some music, right? And that's my segue as we kick off the news segment this week, because TJPW has announced that they are going to release TJPW Psycho Music Volume 5. It's been a very long time since we've seen Volume 4. I think maybe like a year or more, maybe even 2 years plus. This Volume 5 CD is going to release on Sunday, June 7th. They're actually going to start selling it at Korakuen Hall at Standalone 26. Then I believe it's going to be sold online on TJPW's website. I'm not super well versed on how to get merch from the TJPW shop, like the official shop, over to myself in America or just outside of Japan. I've done it for Stardom and I've used a buying service. So I would assume that's a way to do it if you'd like to get your hands on this CD. The CD will be 3,000 yen. It's like a little under $20 US. And there's 8 musical tracks that are on here. This one has the entrance themes for Prism Greed, which I thought that was kind of cool. That signals to me that Prism Greed is going to be sticking around as a tag team for a little while. It also has Chika Nanase, Kira Summer, Ren Kanatsu, Mifu Ishida, Shion Kanzaki, Sakura Hattori, and Uber Eats as well. That also signals to me that we might not have seen the last of Uber Eats just yet. These CDs are pretty fun. It's just the entrance themes. I remember, harkening back to my childhood once again here, I used to have a lot of the WWE entrance theme CDs and I would play them all the time. So if that's something you're interested in, I do think that TJPW has some really good entrance themes and some really good music. So this Volume 5, if you're interested in that, will release this weekend on Sunday the 7th. And if you're curious, Psycho kind of like roughly translates to like the best or awesome. It's like a positive word in that sense. So like basically the name of the CD is TJPW The Best Music or Awesome Music Volume 5. We also have some Summer Sun Princess announcements. Summer Sun Princess is still a little over a month away. It's going to be on Saturday, July 18th from Korakuen Hall. That will be our July Korakuen Hall event. And we already knew that we have Aja Kong set to appear on that show, as well as Shin Sakura Hirota. Well, TJPW has also announced that Mirai is going to be on that show as well. So very curious to see what Mirai is going to do. I do have an idea, but park that thought because we're going to get to that a little bit later on in today's show. In addition to Mirai, we also have our first match announced, and it is a whopper of a match. Aja Kong, who we know is attending this show, we know Aja Kong is going to have a special singles match against Arisu Endo. One heck of a match. I perked up huge when I saw this match graphic come across. I think it was just last night. And a few people had sent it to me. They were like, holy SHIT, this is going to be incredible. Arisu has had one heck of a past 6 months, maybe even a year, if you really want to go back to when she won that International Princess title. She is just slowly but surely climbing up the ladder, climbing up the card in TJPW. Of course, she did not win the Princess of Princess Championship last month at Yes Wonderland when she challenged, but she's definitely someone in that conversation. She's going to remain in that conversation. I think she's a dark horse to win the Tokyo Princess Cup later this year, maybe. She's certainly in the running for it, but this is one heck of a way to kind of get her summer started here with Summer Sun Princess. I don't think Arisu is going to win this match. We'll save a lot of the details for the official preview in like 3, 4, 5 weeks time, but usually when Aja Kong comes in, she tends to win in TJPW, but she always elevates the person that she's in the ring with. I think back to, I think it was Summer Sun Princess last year or maybe Grand Princess last year, where she had a special singles contest with Himawari. And I mean, no doubt Aja was winning that, but Himawari just looked so good in that match and they kind of orchestrated that match so well. So this is a long way of saying that I'm really, really looking forward to this. I think it's a great first match to announce, gets a lot of buzz going, and we're going to keep our eyes peeled for future match announcements. Maybe we'll get some title challenges this weekend at Standalone. The last bit of news that I want to touch on, TJPW announced that Kira Summer is going to have an upcoming absence, and her absence is going to run from Saturday, July 18th. That is the date of Summer Sun Princess. It's going to last roughly a month until Saturday, August 16th. They mentioned that Kira is temporarily returning home to Australia, and they didn't give any more details beyond that, just the dates, and that it's temporary. She's coming back, of course. My initial thought was like, oh, maybe she has to renew a visa of some sorts. I have no context into like what her personal circumstances are for how she's in Japan and all of that. So that was my initial thought. But then really shortly after, Kira started to announce that she's going to be doing some wrestling dates in Australia. And so she has like a brief tour lined up at a couple of places. So perhaps it's just simply like a homecoming, little bit of a tour for her to do some fun, maybe just go home, see some friends and family, right? That's always a lovely thing to do. So we will miss Kira for the month that she's gone. Again, it's going to be July 18th through August 16th. So looking forward to that. And of course, we will cover those matches. If Kira is going on a brief excursion, I'll try to track them down. We'll chat about them in the excursion section. Well, speaking of matches, let's go ahead and jump on into our review of the week. TJPW Spring Tour 2026, Next Door in Osaka. This show went down on Saturday, May 30th from the Azalea Taisho Hall. This one was video on demand, unfortunately. TJPW actually announced that all of their June shows are going to be live, so that's something kind of cool. This one, about 2 hours, your standard TJPW house show length. Nobody was absent. That's always great to see. And attendance was a full house, 268 folks inside the Azalea Taisho Hall. The last time TJPW was in this venue was back at the end of November for Step Forward 2025, where they drew 288. And that extra 20 people was billed as standing room only. That's probably because it was like a named show, like a monthly named show, Step Forward, whereas this was more of just a part of their house show circuit. But still, full house for your general tour show is not half bad. We opened up with a very weird off-center camera angle, and that remained for the entire show. This was a one-camera show, and me being the OCD type that I am, I would have loved for it to be on-center, so that definitely bothered me throughout the entire show. And then, of course, we had Rise Shirai get in the ring. Typical opening remarks and house rules. The Up girls came out. They sang Momentary Idol Memorial. Our first contest was a singles match between Arisu Endo and Shion Kanzaki. Arisu started this one out in control. No real surprise there. Shion quickly got the upper hand to perform that corner call-in response bit, but she had her back to the camera. We got to work on speeding this up a little bit too. I know I've said that a couple of times now. I really like that Shion has this like charismatic bit that she's throwing into the middle of her matches, but I just get the same vibe from like when Sakura first started to do her hand signals on the top rope. It takes a long time to get going, and the opponent just has to kind of stand there in the corner, pretending that they're caught or stuck or hurt, but Shion's not really attacking them in any way. So I just think it kind of pulls me out of it just ever so slightly. But I do love the bit. I just think that it needs to be a little bit quicker, and she probably shouldn't have her back to the camera. But, Shion's been doing this for like 5 months, and these are things that she'll figure out in due time. I'll be a little bit more patient. Shion continued to taunt Arisu back on the mat, and Arisu used that to take back the advantage of the match, that veteran instinct. There were moments where Shion would connect with like a back elbow, she'd lock in a sleeper hold, but Arisu always had an answer just given that veteran experience, and Arisu does ultimately make Shion tap out to the camel clutch in 8 minutes and 15 seconds. Standard Shion match, nothing more, nothing less. Up next, we had a three-way contest, Sakura Hattori versus Mifu Ishida versus Ren Kanatsu. What a crazy trio of people to put together, a cheerleader, a fancy sheep, and a ninja. Mifu immediately bails to the outside and basically tells Ren, good luck. She sits in the front row, she's just kind of cheering her on. Ren does hold her own against Sakura, so that kind of signals to Mifu, she's like, maybe I can get back in here. So she jumps back into the ring, she continues cheering, she was like really on another level with this cheering in this matchup. She ends up rolling up Sakura, and that quickly ends like any alliance she had with Ren, because Ren was like, hold on a second, I want to win this match for myself. Ren and Sakura then bond over Mifu being pretty annoying with her cheering in this match, and Ren then slides to the outside to sarcastically cheer on Mifu, turn the tables a little bit. Mifu gets the upper hand on Sakura, but Ren kind of kept sliding in to steal the pin from her. The two of them reluctantly agree to work together again, but Sakura manages to take both of them out with a couple of kicks, a couple of palm strikes. All three of them start trading submissions, and somehow they find themselves like weirdly all pretzeled together in one giant submission. Ren manages to hit her Kanatsu Crush. She tries to go for the Ares Comet, but Mifu meets her with a kick and then delivers an X Factor. Sakura, though, manages to reappear, boot Mifu, and then steal the pin at 7 minutes and 59 seconds. Our next contest was a tag team match. Rakupam on one side of the ring took on a little bit of a thrown-together duo in Hyper Misao and Kira Summer. Kira emerges as a sort of superhero in training, if you will, wearing an eye mask. She had an Australian flag as a cape. Rakupam weren't interested in anything Hyper Misao had to say in her pre-match mic performance, and they snuck their way off up into the balcony of the venue. Hyper Misao and Kira were forced to follow them up there, but then they get ambushed and they get draped in one of the giant TJPW banners. Rakupam return to the ring. They demand that Fumarin starts the match, begins counting. Misao and Kira have like way too difficult of a time getting out of the banner, and then they waste like a solid 5 seconds straightening the banner back into place. They eventually make it back down to the ring at the 17-second mark, and they are too winded to get the upper hand. Rakupam start to steal the superhero supplies, and then Pom dons a cape and a mask, and she becomes Super Pom. She tries a very feeble-looking I am a hero dive, but Misao is waiting to spray her in the eyes with the cold spray. Pom then literally gets ragdolled all around the ring by both Kira and Misao. She manages to log roll her way back into control, tagging in Raku. Raku and Misao trade some offense, with Raku hitting a sling blade and Misao briefly locking in a chicken wing face lock. Pom and Kira then tag back in. Kira gets a quick upper hand using her strength, but Pom counters into a Lafayette Harajuku, nearly connects with a Palm to Justice if it wasn't for Misao getting in there and interfering. Raku takes that as a sign to jump in, hold Misao in the ropes, and Pom manages to land the Palm to Justice on the second attempt to pin Kira Summer in 11 minutes and 9 seconds. You know, in the end, justice was served. A Palm to Justice, that is. Our next contest was another tag team match. Prism Greed took on yet another thrown-together duo of Himawari and Chika Nanase. Himawari is somewhat on the hunt for a new tag team partner while Shino Suzuki is on the shelf. Chika and Aino start out with some big, powerful women slapping meat. Then we get a combination of Himawari and Haru, followed by Haru and Chika, with a bit of a double-team hair choking sandwiched in between. Prism Greed do this like odd jumping hug slam attack that like doesn't seem to be like too well thought out. Haru ran at Aino, jumped into her arms, giving her like a big old hug, and then Aino just fell backwards onto Chika, but Aino seemed to be the one to take like the brunt of the weight. It was strange. I don't really know how effective it was. Himawari comes in, has a nice exchange with Aino. Remember, Himawari is like deceptively strong for someone of her size, and of course Aino is very power-based as well, so they had a nice back and forth. Didn't stop Aino from absolutely crushing her with a twisting springboard senton, though. Haru tags in, locks in an Izayoi. Himawari counters with some hair whips to the face, like brutal stuff. Chika enters to squeeze the life out of Haru with an Inari Tori, but Haru returns the favor with an Izayoi. Chika again tries to get in that modified Inari Tori this time, but Haru really nicely arm drags out of it. She locks in the Izayoi for the second time, and she gets the submission victory in 10 minutes and 38 seconds. Our semifinal match, yet another tag team match with two pretty thrown together teams here. Miyu Yamashita and Toga took on Wakana Uehara and Shoko Nakajima. Yamashita and Wakana started out and they were scrapping big time to get this one underway. Wakana really tried to hold her own, but Yamashita was like, child, like I got the upper hand here. Shoko and Toga temporarily come in, cut that tension with the knife, but it's really not long before we're back to Wakana and Yamashita. They seemed like really magnetically attracted to each other in this one. Yamashita meets her with a stinging kick to the back and a really nasty looking face lock. Shoko and Toga go for round 2. I'm also, at this point, I had realized that Shoko's hair is a little bit darker brown than usual, so she changed up her hair a little bit. Shoko also misstepped on her springboard Hurricane Rana, and I don't know if I've ever seen Shoko mess something up that way before. Like, that is a rarity. She is usually so fluid. I know I talked a lot about that from the shows that I attended live in Texas and in Vegas. Shoko, even just slipping on the rope, is something that is like so few and far between. Yamashita tags back in for a bit of the longest running rivalry in TJPW history with Shoko. These two can wrestle like 5 seconds or 5 hours, and it's just going to be flawless. We get a pairing of Wakana and Toga, and Wakana manages to get in the banana pillow, but Yamashita is in there with another kick right to her back. Toga takes control, but Nakajima jumps in with the assist. Yamashita's there to kick Shoko on a 619 attempt. I thought that looked pretty nice. And then Shoko dives on to Yamashita on the outside of the ring. Toga and Wakana spar for another minute or so before Toga ends up hitting the absolute zero, gets the win in 12 minutes and 36 seconds. This was technically like a mini preview tag because Toga and Wakana are meeting at standalone in a singles match. To be honest, it didn't really get me that much more excited to watch that match. I kind of more so want to see Wakana and Yamashita now after this. Because this was like somewhat of a mini preview, we did get a couple of backstage comments. Wakana said that despite today's loss, she's never lost to Toga in a singles match. Toga said she wants to carry this tag victory momentum into a singles victory as well. She feels that Wakana is a little bit further along than the rest of the 2023 class because she's had that tag team championship reign. Our main event was an 8-woman tag team contest. It was actually a rematch from last week's show in Shinjuku. Ultimate preview tag here, the champions versus the challengers. On one side, Yuki Arai, Suzume, and Daydream teamed up. And on the other side, all of the challengers for those titles, Kamiyu, Mihiro Kiryu, Mizuki, and Uda Takami. This is our third preview tag for all 3 of these belts, as a matter of fact, and running through kind of where we sit with our preview tags leading up to this one. Kamiyu has the slight advantage over Arai, 2-0, although neither of those were direct pinfall. Suzume and Mihiro are tied at 1 apiece. Suzume was pinned by Mihiro just last week in Shinjuku. And then on the tag team side of things, slight edge to the challengers, Mizuki and Uda Takami. They're up 2-0, but again, no direct pinfall against either of the champions. This was a long segment on this show because they started with everybody getting their own entrances yet again. We started out with some handshakes to start, save for Mizuki, who still wants nothing to do with Rika Tatsumi. We start off in this match with Suzume and Mihiro. Mihiro actually kept up quite nicely with Suzume's speed, I thought. I think that could add a really interesting dynamic to their title match if Mihiro is able to continue building upon kind of matching, maybe not matching Suzume's speed for speed, but definitely closing that gap a little bit. Things break down very early on in this one. All 8 women jumped into the ring. The champions connect with tandem corner attacks, and then they all gang up for a 4-way attack on Mihiro. Poor Mihiro, she always seems to get like the brunt of these group attacks. Somehow she manages to fight her way back. She counters with an apology. She tags in Kamiyu, followed by Uda, and then Mizuki, all running like a train of attacks on Suzume. Suzume manages to make it to Arai, who is met by Kamiyu for a battle of the big boots. Arai gets a scorpion lock in. Mihiro tries to make the save, but Arai won't let go of the scorpion lock. Suzume jumps in to brawl with Mihiro, and then the tag teams enter as well, and things start to break down for a second time. The champions manage to lock in 4 stereo submissions in the ring, the scorpion deathlock, a leg scissors from Suzume onto Mihiro, the figure 4 from Rika onto Mizuki, and then the Canadian backbreaker from Watanabe onto Uda Takami. The Yukis climb up into one of the corners, and Kamiyu lands this huge avalanche brainbuster. In come Miyu and Uda, with Uda embodying like a human energy drink. She was like literally bouncing off the walls of the ring or the ropes of the ring. Watanabe couldn't get control of her. Rika comes in to help out a bit for some tandem daydream offense. She tags in. She's all too happy to choke Uda in the corner. Of course, she's got this vendetta against Uda for teaming up with Mizuki, stealing her Mizuki away. Speaking of Mizuki, she makes the save. She ends up diving to daydream on the outside. She jumped off the corner turnbuckle. Uda again goes berserk, this time on Rika. She manages to get the koala clutch slapped on. Somehow, Rika counters that with another choke, and then she had like this sick, sadistic smile on her face while she was choking out Uda. Probably no surprise to all of you, Rika Tatsumi is a little bit, what was the word that Super Sasadango Machine used? Psychopathic, right? So we definitely saw some of that here. She nearly squeezes the life out of Uda before Mizuki makes the save. Somehow, Mihiro and Suzume get back into the middle of the ring. That they must have been like brawling on and off the entire time here. Suzume lands a ring-a-bell, but then gets taken out by Kamiyu's springboard big boot. The Yukis then boot each other a little bit more before Arai sends Kamiyu down with a twisting brainbuster. Uda and Rika, remember they're the two legal competitors still. Rika hits a twist of fate, but Mizuki comes in to save Uda, and then the tag teams start going back and forth, trading offense. Daydream hits a Daydream Eternity on Mizuki. Uda charges multiple times at Rika, but she somehow lands herself in a White Dragon Sleeper. She taps out in 16 minutes and 28 seconds. Guys, I might have posted my best matches of May a little too early because this was awesome. It might edge out last week's triple preview match. I think they're pretty close to me, but this one, maybe I would slot that into my top 5 and take out last week's. They're more or less the same match, but I might give like a slight edge to this one here. After it was over, Rika ran her way over to Mizuki and asked for a handshake, and Mizuki was like, GTFO, dude, like, read the room. The champions then each speak a little bit on the microphone. Nothing too crazy was stated. They just talk about their upcoming title defenses, and then they close out the show saying they were so excited to be back in Osaka for the first time in quite a while. I think it was like maybe like 6 months, something like that. We had a whole plethora of backstage comments. We'll start with Kamiyu. Kamiyu said that, quote, the kid lost today. She was referring to Uda. And she said she doesn't want Arai to kick her in the face anymore. She pointed out how scary Arai looked when she had Uda in that scorpion lock. She was like mimicking the face. It's kind of comical. I don't know if she intended it to be comical. She said that she'll have nightmares about that face, so she has to go home and watch like Disney or something to see some more kind faces. Mihiro said that Suzume was in super battle mode. She was ready to sting at any moment. Kamiyu interrupted her to ask what kind of face Suzume was making, and Mihiro was like, I don't know, like this kind of face, and just gave like a normal looking face. Mihiro then continued to say that they lost today, but you know, today is today and tomorrow is tomorrow. Kamiyu interrupted again, and she said, okay, well, what's the day after tomorrow? And Mihiro just very matter-of-factly was like, well, it's the day after tomorrow. Away from all of that insanity, Mizuki said that she felt shaken, that she couldn't protect Uda today. Both of them agreed Daydream appeared really strong today, but Mizuki regained some confidence once Uda told her, you know what, everything's going to be okay. I'm going to lock in for that title match. On the champions side of things, Arai stated that she wants to win the Battle of the Boots against Kamiyu. Suzume reiterated that Mihiro means quite a lot to her as a friend, and she wants Standalone to be like the most special day yet between the two of them. Rika said that she was able to finish off the Koala Alien today, but at Standalone, she wants to beat Mizuki so that she can finally break Mizuki out of this brainwashing. Miyu kind of like let her live in this fantasy, and she was like, okay, sounds good, dude. I'll just handle Uda in that case, I guess. Overall, really, really good main event. Like, that is the match of the night. I also really liked the exchange between Wakana and Yamashita. It had this like sense of viciousness to it that we don't normally see from Wakana. The other tag matches were also pretty solid, like in their own unique ways. The undercard had some pretty good wrestling. There was some comedy in there with the three-way match. There was that singles Shion Kanzaki match. Honestly, not too much to complain about here. This is a strong recommend from me for you all to watch this one. So coming off of that terrific house show, next up is Standalone 2-6. I'm amazed that we're already here. It kind of feels like Standalone crept up on us. I feel like I was just watching Yes Wonderland not that long ago. But somehow or other, we've already had 3 preview tags. And really, we had the press conference. I feel like all 3 of the championship matches have really been building a lot of steam. So let's go ahead and talk about this show, because in addition to those 3 championship matches, there's a really nice card that TJPW put together. I think this is shaping up to be another pretty solid Korakuen Hall event. Standalone 2-6 will go down on Sunday, June 7th from Korakuen Hall. This will be live on Wrestle Universe. For us in the States, it's going to be 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday night, and then 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time on Saturday night. So very easy to watch this one live if you'd like to check it out. There will be one competitor absent, that is Miyu Yamashita. Yamashita is taking a quick trip over to England because she is challenging for that EVE International title this weekend, so no Miyu Yamashita on this card. We will get English commentary, though. Both Mr. Haku and Bali and Aki are going to be a part of this, so looking forward to that. There was no mention of any guests, but typically they'll have like Kira Summer join them. Fumarine has joined them. Obviously, Kamiyu will not join them because Kamiyu will be in the main event, challenging for that Princess of Princess title. But here's hoping we get Fumarine or Kira Summer on English commentary. This is going to open up with a 3-way tag team match. Kiraku Kiyome will take on Raku Palm and Himawari and Mifu Ashita. This is the match that is presented by Twilight Rouge. That is Sumire Uesaka's Vampire Concept Cafe. Sumire will be in attendance. She will be on Japanese commentary for this event. She is, of course, still the DDT Ironman heavy metalweight champion, so pocket that in your minds, because I really feel like that's going to become a factor at some point during this show. Maybe not necessarily in this match, but I do think at some point that Ironman title, maybe even backstage, is going to play a role here. Because this match is sponsored by this Vampire Cafe Twilight Rouge, the winners are going to get like a special, I think it's currency that you can use at the cafe. So there's a little bit of something on the line here. Heck of a way to kick us off. I assume we're going to get a lot of shenanigans in here. You got Misao, Raku, Palm, Himawari, Mifu. And then to top all of that off, you've got vampires, because in addition to Sumire, there are supposed to be a few vampires from the cafe that are going to be in attendance. So we'll see what this is going to be all about. I would expect a little bit of zaniness here. I am going to pick Kiraku Kiyome to win this one, and I would venture to guess we get some sort of like follow-up video at Twilight Rouge with whoever wins spending their credits at this cafe. Perhaps maybe that's where we will see someone attack Sumire for that Ironman title. Next up, we will have a 6-woman tag match of the team of Yuki Aino, Ren Kanatsu, and Shion Kanzaki will take on the team of Arisu Endo, Sakura Hattori, and Kira Summer. This is kind of like the let's get everyone together on the show type of match. I think it'll be fine. There's no real major stakes to any of it. I'm going to pick Arisu. I think she'll pin Shion. Shion feels like she's there to take that pinfall. But I'm going to pick Arisu to win this because I think she's going to start gathering some momentum now that we know her big-time matchup at Summer Sun Princess. So my pick is Arisu pinning Shion to get that momentum before Summer Sun Princess. Up next will be a singles matchup. Wakana Uehara will go one-on-one with Toga. Now, these two have faced off a handful of times before. As Wakana mentioned in those backstage comments in Osaka, she has never lost to Toga in a singles match. She is 2-0 against Toga. There was also that preview tag that we just talked about, so Toga has that slight edge where she pinned Wakana, but Wakana does hold the singles head-to-head match record between the two of them. I'll be honest, I'm not fully bought into this backstory after one match, that Osaka match. It's a clash of 2023 classmates, but the two head-to-head matches that we were talking about there took place all the way back in 2023. So, like, I don't know. I kind of got the sense that they were trying to make this feel like some sort of big rivalry, but in my opinion, the history just doesn't really support that. That said, I think it will still be a very good match. Both competitors improving very, very rapidly in the last like 6 to 12 months, but I don't know. It's definitely one of the softer hits for me as I look at this card. All that said, I'm going to pick Wakana, and I don't think it will be the last time we see Wakana on this show, so keep that in mind as we continue going through. Next up, we'll have another singles contest. Chika Nanase is going to go one-on-one with the returning Yuri. It's nice to see Yuri again so soon. She was just on that Yes Wonderland show. That was like kind of her TJPW debut. So it's nice that she made an impression and is going to be coming back here so soon. I think this is going to be fun. Something tells me that these two are going to mesh really well together and put on a good match. I don't know quite what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but I just get this feeling that the two of them are going to work really well together. Given where Chika sits currently, and that outsiders usually win when they come into TJPW, I'm going to pick Yuri for this one. But like I say, I think this is going to be, I don't know if I'd call it like a sleeper hit, but I do think it's going to surprise a lot of people. And then our final undercard matchup before our title matches, big time singles matchup here. We are going to see Mirai returning to TJPW. She's going to take on Haru Kazushiro. Absolutely no rest for Haru coming off that International Princess title challenge last month. She's in for a big time fight against Mirai. Mirai's been booked pretty strongly since coming into TJPW. Really, the only major loss was when she lost that IP title to Suzume at Grand Princess 2-6. I really love that Mirai has continued to make appearances. It wasn't just like a one-off for Itinyon. Obviously, she won the belt, so she was kind of coming back around. But like, I really like that she's returned back to TJPW time and time again here in the last like 6 months or so. I think that Mirai's strong booking continues here. I feel like she'll have like a very strong style match against Haru quite a bit. Like, I think she's going to like really just kind of not bully her around, but just, I mean, Mirai tends to be like a very work rate heavy competitor, a very strong competitor. So I do think there's going to be a lot of that seeped into this one. I do think that Haru is going to continue to have some good showings, even if she loses. Like, Haru has been gaining a lot in defeat because she's just been putting on like really, really good matches. And more or less, I think that's what's going to happen here. I think Mirai is going to kind of bully her around the ring, very strong style her. Haru, I think, will look very, very good, but ultimately, I'm going to give this victory to Mirai. Our first title defense of the evening, we'll see Suzume in her V3 defense of the International Princess title take on the second-time challenger for the International Princess belt, Mihiro Kiryu. This, as I mentioned, is Suzume's V3. She has defeated both Sakura Hattori and Haru Kazushiro, and going into this event, she will be champion for 70 days. Mihiro's second challenge here. The last time she challenged for this title, number of years ago, it was in December of 2020, when Kamiyu was the International Princess champion. These two have met twice head-to-head. They've split that evenly, one apiece. This will be their first singles meeting since 2021, though. And we've had those 3 preview matches. Suzume has the slight edge 2-1, although in that one Mihiro win, she did directly pin Suzume. And to qualify for this, I guess it really wasn't a qualification, but Mihiro announced her challenge at Suzume's homecoming show, Back to the Hive. In fact, she tried to pin her, thinking it was the DDT Ironman title. She got a little bit confused, but she's rebounded nicely in those preview tags heading into this one. I'm looking forward to this. I think Mihiro has looked more serious in the lead up to it. I don't know how high the odds are that she'll win the title, but I think the key for her lies in her size and her strength. Obviously, Suzume is quite a small competitor, so I think that's where like the keys to victory, if it were, that's where that lies with Mihiro. Suzume, on the other hand, though, might just be a little too quick for her to keep up with. Mihiro was able to keep pace in that Osaka tag briefly, but it wasn't for like a very prolonged stretch. Certainly not at the pace that Suzume can go. The endurance levels that she has, the stamina is just that's like her bread and butter, right? But I think those are kind of like the keys here if Mihiro does really want to put in this valiant effort to win this belt. I have to say I also really like the emotion that these two are bringing to this match. They're pretty good friends in real life, and they are sharing excitement and experiencing like this different circumstance together with this match. It's almost like a variation on that storyline from last month's Princess of Princess title match between Arisu and Arai, where they were really talking quite a bit about their friendship. But it's similar to that, but it's also quite different with these two competitors. All that being said, I'm going to roll with Suzume here. While I love that Mihiro is getting this opportunity, I don't see her being the one to dethrone Suzume, and certainly not 70 days into the reign. I think Suzume will probably hold this for a little while longer, and then maybe we'll see someone from that like younger generation, maybe even someone from the class of 2023, be the one to take this belt off of her. Mentioning now the class of 2023, I'm going to say that we get a title challenge here, and I think it's going to be Wakana. I think Wakana is due for a singles title challenge. She has the pedigree now as the tag team champion under her belt. She's been holding her own quite well since losing that tag team belt. During that tag team reign, she was responsible for quite a number of the defenses throughout. So I think that we might see Wakana here make this challenge. Beyond the wrestling ring, too, Wakana has been branding herself very well. She's very popular in America. She's been growing herself on social media, on YouTube. So I think that's kind of the angle they might go here. I don't know if Wakana is necessarily kind of primed to win the belt, but I wouldn't be surprised if they give her the big-time title match at Summer Sun Princess. Our semi-final, the Princess Tag titles are going to be on the line. Daydream will be making their first defense. They've held these titles for only 34 days. They're going to be going up against Mizuki and Uda Takami. This will be Uda's first challenge for these Princess Tag Team titles. Of course, Mizuki, former 3-time Princess Tag Team champion alongside Yuka Sakazaki. The 3 preview matches for this one, slightly in favor of Mizuki and Uda Takami, 2-1, although that one win for Daydream, that just occurred back at the Osaka show. We just talked about that, where Uda submitted to the White Dragon Sleeper. So that is the only direct fall between the two teams. Mizuki and Uda were the runners-up in the Max Heart tournament, so they didn't qualify by winning the tournament, but they did go ahead and announce their challenge at Yes Wonderland once Daydream won those belts from The Inspiration. This is my early pick for match of the night. I really like what all 4 of these women have been doing in the preview tags. I think we're going to see a lot of energy, particularly from the Mizuki and Uda side. We'll probably see a lot of like crazy powerhouse offense from Miyu. We normally do. I'm sure we'll get a lot of like subtle comedy in the Mizuki and Rika interactions, or maybe even the Mizuki and Uda, or excuse me, the Rika and Uda interactions. Rika might attempt to murder her in the middle of the ring here. It does feel a bit like the story that we're going to is that Uda is going to take the loss here for her team. Maybe that's a little too repetitive from the match that just went down in Osaka, but that kind of feels like what we're telling with this relationship between the existing relationship between, or I shouldn't say existing because it's very one-sided, the one-sided parasocial relationship between Rika Tatsumi and Mizuki, and then you couple in this the new tag partner with Uda. That's just been the basis for all of this, so I kind of feel like we're leading ourselves to Uda taking the loss here, and spoiler alert, my pick is Daydream. It just feels a little too soon into their reign, 34 days for them to lose. They've been talking quite a bit about wanting to set like the defense record, have a really long defense. So I think that they keep these titles on Daydream. It gives Miyu Watanabe something to do coming off of that Princess of Princess championship run. Of course, it gives Rika something to do as well. So my pick here, Daydream. And in our main event of the evening, The Princess of Princess title is on the line. All of the marbles up for grabs here in TJPW. Yuki Arai in her V3 defense going up against Yuki Kamifuku in her very first challenge for this Princess of Princess title. Battle of the Big Boots, Battle of the Yukis. This will be the third time that both of these Yukis are meeting head-to-head. Arai holds a slight edge there, 2-1. A lot of those were over the International Princess title from time past. Of course, we had 3 preview tags as well. Kamiyu has the slight edge there, 2-1. Neither competitor was directly involved in the pinfall or the submission, though. Arai's V3 defense I mentioned, she defended against J-Rod in Las Vegas. And then Arisu back in Yes Wonderland at Korakuen. She has been the champion for 70 days going into this event. Similar to Mizuki and Uda Takami, Kamiyu issued her challenge after Yes Wonderland. A lot of talk about anti-aging and, certain Kamiyuisms, I will call it that. The lead up to this has been a little bit more on the silly side for a Princess of Princess title match with like all of the anti-aging stuff, but I do think they turned the page nicely in the preview tags, talking a lot about booting each other in the face. I think a lot of it's still rooted in like the whole idea of like Kamiyu wanting to remain pretty, but I suppose that's like her gimmick at the end of the day, right? So like she's not going to stray too far away from that. I am intrigued by the similar moveset that these two share. I think it runs the risk of hurting the match in the sense that we might see a lot of repetition and lack of variety. But I also, on the other side of that coin, I think they could tell a pretty strong story with like neither being able to get the upper hand due to like constant reversals or like anticipation of what's coming up. At the end of the day, I'm just excited to see Kamiyu challenging for this belt. She talks a lot about like not liking singles matches, not really liking titles matches, not caring for all of that, just because of like the amount of work they bring, I think is her angle there. But I have to think that like the real life Yuki is excited to finally be in this big position, challenging for the top belt in the main event of a Korakuen Hall show. Like, you're a wrestler, you're a competitor. This is what you live for. This is why you join promotions. It's to challenge for the big titles on the big stage. So I do have to imagine that she is maybe not outwardly saying it, but probably excited that this is what is coming to pass for her here. As for my pick, I'm going to go with Yuki at the end of the day. And that's standalone 2-6. I'm kidding. I'm not going to pull the rug out from you guys like that. I'm going to pick Arai. I think Arai needs to hold this belt like at least through Wrestle Princess if the company is like really trying to push her as the next big face of the promotion up there kind of with Miyu Watanabe. So I think she has to hold this belt for quite a while. I think if you take it off of her before Wrestle Princess, you water down the reign a little bit. You water down the moment of her being that third Grand Slam champion. It would feel very premature. So I do think that she holds this belt for a while. As for Summer Sun Princess and who might challenge her, I had a big think about this, and usually what happens here, one of the winners earlier in the evening will kind of build up some momentum, win a match, and then come out and challenge. So if you've been paying close attention to my picks, there's somebody that stands out quite a bit, and to me, that's Mirai. Mirai has been announced for Summer Sun Princess. I wouldn't be surprised if they announce her as the challenger. I think that she's a big-time name, an outsider, but she still has a lot of history with TJPW, both recent and past history. I think that's a big money match. Yuki Arai one-on-one with Mirai. To me, that's a main event of a major match. Of course, Summer Sun Princess will be at Korakuen Hall this year, so it's not quite a large arena venue. But I think that this is something that will bring people in. It will bring in fans of Mirai. Maybe they remember her from her Stardom days, from her Marigold days. Yuki Arai, of course, has that crossover appeal as a former idol, mainstream idol. So to me, that feels like the big money match that we might be working towards. I could be way off base, you know. It's always a crapshoot, but just knowing who's announced for these shows and kind of who they've already cycled through and who maybe is waiting in the wings to challenge, like to me, it kind of feels like Mirai. Let me know if you agree with that, or maybe you have a different pick. Feel free to shoot me an email or send me a message on social or comment on YouTube, what have you. Would love to kind of brainstorm with you guys who you think is next for Yuki Arai here, or if you think that Yuki Arai is even winning this match at all. Really excited for this show. Again, it is on Sunday, June 7th. It is live on Wrestle Universe, so 10:30 p.m. on Saturday night for you East Coasters, and then my fellow West Coasters, 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. Really looking forward to this. We'll definitely be watching it live, so if you plan to watch it live, join me on like X or something, or feel free to send me a message and we can chat about it as it goes down. As usual, going to wrap up today with some graduate talk, some excursion talk. Quite a few excursions have popped up, some different and fun excursions, I have to say. On the graduate side, though, before we get to that, on the graduate side, just one person I want to highlight this week, and that is Unagi Sayaka. Unagi Sayaka made another successful defense of her Diana tag titles. Diana. I don't know like what the like Japanese pronunciation would be. I guess Diana. Regardless, Unagi made a defense of her tag team titles alongside her partner Haruka Umasaki. Just this past Sunday on May 31st, they defeated the team of Nanami Hatano and Rina Amakura. I didn't know that Unagi was the Diana Tag Team Champion. I think she's like this. I think it's Seedling or Wave Tag Team Champion. So Unagi's got quite a collection of belts. Beyond graduates, though, talking a little bit about some excursions. There's one that I want to deep dive here, and that is a show that just took place. Actually, it was a couple weekends ago now, Sunday, May 24th. ChocoPro's Apple Universe, the 8th launch. This was Mei Suruga's 8th anniversary show. It was at Shinjuku Face. ChocoPro said it was the final time that they will be running Shinjuku Face. So there was a lot of talk of memories, and kind of after the event, there was a whole nice segment where all of the wrestlers in ChocoPro talked about what Shinjuku Face means to them. Mei Suruga had quite a lot to say about that. She holds her anniversary shows there every year, so a nice little touching tribute to Shinjuku Face. I'm not going to cover this whole event, of course. I'm just going to talk about a couple of the matches. I do want to preface, though, I do not know the ChocoPro players very, very well. I know a handful of some of the bigger names, Emi Sakura, Mei Suruga, Bali and Aki, although I don't think he's like full-time with them. Antonio Honda's there quite a bit. So I only know some of the bigger names. I don't know the entire roster. So I just want to say that ahead of time. If I mispronounce a name, if I don't have the right context for somebody, I did try to do some homework. Shout out to my friend Chris, friend of the show. He's a huge ChocoPro fan. He was filling me in, giving me a little bit of reference points. So I don't sound like a total fool here, but knowing me, I'm going to sound like a fool regardless. So let's get it out of the way. I want to talk about Mirai's match. Mirai was on this show. She had a singles contest against Chie Koshikawa. Quite a short match coming into this one. It was only a 9-minute match, about 9 minutes and 1 second. Mirai looked pretty good. She was in control for most of it. Picked up what, to me, looked to be a fairly easy victory. Chie did have some flashes of offense kind of peppered throughout, but Chie had what I think is the tag team belt for ChocoPro. A few people mentioned to me that it was surprising that a ChocoPro champion lost so decisively. But, you know, it is Mirai at the end of the day. Mirai, we just talked about it with that Haru singles contest preview. She's a very strong style. I hate to use the word bully because she just seems like such a nice person. But in that ring, she's very strong style, like almost like God's Eye, kind of that bully, like a Shuri almost. So interesting match. Good match. To me, it felt very one-sided. But again, I don't know too much about Chie. I know a lot of people like Chie. I don't think this was the match for me to form the right opinion on Chie. I think I would need to watch a different Chie match to kind of see more of what she's all about. The match I do want to spend a little bit more time on is Suzume's match. Suzume had a match, a singles contest here against Miya Yotsuba. Miya, in the early going, grabbed the advantage here by grabbing onto Suzume's hair. She definitely had a bit of a size advantage over Suzume. Then again, most people do. She ended up carrying Suzume around the outside for a little bit, outside of the ring. They went up onto that like bar seats at Shinjuku Face. They brawled quite a bit, headed back to the ring. Once they were inside, Suzume began to get the upper hand using her speed to hit a couple of reversals, a couple of drop kicks. Mia countered a facebuster into a really nice looking backbreaker. Then she locked in this cloverleaf style submission. They continued to trade offense with Suzume connecting with a basement ring-a-bell, still taking a lot of damage though from the bigger Mia. Mia went for two what looked like jumping lariats, or like, I don't think they were Superman punches, but something to that effect. Suzume countered one with a drop kick and then managed a giant facebuster. And then she eventually managed to hit the ring-a-bell and win this match in 12 minutes and 13 seconds. Mia, from what I understand, is like the main champion of ChocoPro. I think it's called the Super Asia Championship. Does that mean that Suzume has grounds for a title shot now? Question mark. We'll have to see. From what I could see, Suzume looked like she had a blast at ChocoPro, so maybe she will make her return at some point. There's one more match here that I just want to give a special shout out to. That was the main event of this. Of course, it was Mei Suruga in her main event. She had a singles contest against her Best Bros tag partner, Bali and Aki. Also, bit of a TJPW connection there. This match was really, really good. Obviously, these two obviously have history as tag partners, right? Their whole dynamic is that Aki is much larger and Mei is this like tiny little thing. That was like the abundantly obvious story going into this. Obviously, it was like Mei's 8th anniversary and it was the, tag team partners, the Best Bros collide, right? But the obvious story, like to the casual fan, was like, well, holy crap, like he's 3 times her size. Like, how's that little girl gonna do anything against this bigger guy? I think that's what a lot of people think about intergender matches in particular. They have a hard time suspending disbelief in that sense. And I totally get that. I think that does make sense from time to time. I do also think there's just a business reason a lot of times you see intergender matches, especially on the independents, but going too far down a rabbit hole there. This was special. Like, that was the main story, and they built into that. They went into this match wanting you to take that approach and say, Mei's never going to win this. Of course it's going to be a squash for Aki. But they just went above and beyond with telling that story, with Mei finding her way to, wiggle into a counter or use her speed or outsmart Aki somewhere. It was very David versus Goliath. I just thought they did a really, really great job with this. Like, Mei is a very good wrestler. Aki is as well. But there was just something to this. They really took an intergender match at its real core and went out there and just knocked it out of the park. They hit a grand slam. Mei does win. The match goes for about 20 minutes, probably a little bit more. It's a double thumbs up, 2 thumbs up, high recommend from me. I've had friends that say they think this is their favorite ChocoPro match of all time, or best ChocoPro match of all time, certainly up there. So since all of the ChocoPro shows are put up on their YouTube channel for free, this is an easy recommend. They have that no paywall initiative. So this whole show is pretty good, but I did want to just spend a little bit of time. I know neither of them are like really TJPW wrestlers, but I did want to give a special shout out to that main event with Mei and Aki. There are a handful of other excursions I want to touch on, some new, some old. This weekend on Friday, so actually the day that you are listening to this episode, or the day this episode drops, Eve 150 is taking place. History Makers, Rule Breakers. This is the show where Miyu Yamashita is challenging for the Eve International Championship against Chris Statlander. I think it's possible that Miyu might win this. Again, all of the Eve shows are also on YouTube, but they are behind a paywall. It's like a $8 to $10 a month deal. I'm really excited to see Yamashita and Statlander. I think on paper that's kind of sells itself. I don't know. I don't know enough about Eve and the history and the lore and the kind of the status of the title holders and whatnot. Obviously, I know Chris Statlander and she's AEW and all, but maybe this is a chance for Yamashita to win this. I'm looking forward to it. We'll talk about it next week on the show, so if you'd like to check it out, definitely make sure you watch that. Also, this weekend on Saturday, the 6th of June, MLW Fusion is back. MLW's like weekly television show is airing on YouTube. It airs every Saturday on YouTube at It's 6:05 p.m. Eastern time. They said there was some significance for why they do that specific time. I think it had something to do with like WCW or something. I don't really remember, to be honest. But MLW Fusion is back. MLW is an interesting promotion. It's kind of like one step up from an American indie. The presentation is always done really, really well. They have a lot of ex-WWE people in there. The reason I'm bringing this up is because this weekend on Saturday's show, again, free on YouTube, Shoko Nakajima is defending her MLW featherweight title against Shotzi Blackheart. Now, you might be saying, what do you mean her MLW featherweight title? Like, she's not been carrying around a title in TJPW. Well, you'd be correct because, spoiler alert, she loses this match against Shotzi. We talked about this. I think this match was taped like earlier this year, maybe even like, I want to say it was like February, actually, like after they did their Battle Riot. And they are just now releasing some of these episodes. So if you'd like to see Shoko take on Shotzi, again, totally free on YouTube. So why not? Cost you nothing but your time. You can watch Shoko Nakajima lose her MLW featherweight title. This makes a lot more sense to me now. I wondered why they had Shoko lose that title. Shotzi's been doing quite a bit on the independents, so I wasn't necessarily keyed in on the Shotzi piece, but it makes sense now that MLW has announced their partnership with Stardom. So perhaps they were shifting allegiances or shifting companies or, whatever you want to call it. But on Saturday evening, you can watch Shoko Nakajima lose her MLW featherweight title on YouTube. Also on Saturday, this one on Wrestle Universe, there's a DDT show. It's called DDT Dramatic Dream Takashimaya Volume 4. I think I said that right, Takashimaya. This, I believe, is actually on video on demand, so it's happening on Saturday, and then I think it's going to be releasing sometime earlier to mid next week. I bring this DDT show up because on the pre-show, there is a TJPW offer match. We're going to have Chika Nanase and Haru Kazushiro team up, and they're going to take on Ren Kanatsu and Shion Kanzaki. They tend to do this when there is a DDT show the night before a TJPW show. They'll usually send over a couple of the girls, and it's like almost like a promotion. They'll say, hey, here's a TJPW match, and then the girls get on the mic and they're like, hey, did you like what we just did? Well, guess what? We have a whole show happening tomorrow. So that's kind of the design here. I also like that they send some of the younger competitors, get them some more reps, get them experience in front of larger crowds and just kind of different crowds, give them just those different experiences, especially like Shion Kanzaki, Ren Kanatsu, wrestlers who have been doing this for less than a year. I think that's really cool. So looking forward to that. We did talk in the news segment that Kira Summer is going to be going on excursion to Australia. Kira has announced that she's going to be taking a few bookings, or she has a few bookings while she's there. I say excursion, but it's like homecoming, right? So like, we'll call it excursion. But the first match that was announced will be on Saturday, July 18th for ACW. That's Adelaide Championship Wrestling. The event will be called Heart of War. Kira Summer making her Australian wrestling debut. How about that? She has never wrestled in Australia before, and this will be the first time. No word yet on an opponent for Kira. I'm not sure if this is like filmed or televised or live. I will do all of that research. We have a good month and a half before we get there, but I'm excited to see Kira kind of spread her wings or return to the nest or whatever the bird metaphor is. But I'm excited to see this, and I'm excited to see kind of what she gets up to on her little excursion/homecoming. And then the final show that we have our eyes on is at the end of July, the 26th, Kitsune making their return with Stay With Me. This is going to be here in Los Angeles in Southern California. Sayuri Namba is their MC. So as of now, planning to go to that. Really looking forward to that, and we'll keep you guys updated on my plans. If you're headed to that show, drop me a line, let me know. But we'll definitely have some coverage of that show regardless. But if I am there, we'll get some videos and whatnot. Maybe put up a social post or something. All that being said, that was a lot in a short amount of time there with those excursions. But all that being said, that will bring us to the end of today's episode. Go ahead, grab your cold spray, grab your ice packs, because on next week's episode, we are going to review Standalone. Are we going to have new champions? Maybe new challengers? Some vampires? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. We're also going to preview Next Door in Yokohama And we'll check in and see if Yamashita managed to win a new EVE championship. I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss any future episodes. You can follow us at Tokyo Joshi Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and X. If you want to email the show, tokyojoshipod@gmail.com. But above all else, remember to keep your hearts burning, stay magical, my friends, and we'll see you next week on the Tokyo Joshi Pod.